Yes, 911.
Yes, there's an accident in the car. There's a semi truck flipped over.
Okay, where at?
It's like a quarter of a mile from Superstition Springs on the 60 freeway.
On the east or westbound side?
I'm heading east.
Eastbound US 60, and it's just before or just after Superstition Springs?
It's before. It's a quarter mile before.
Okay. And do you know if anybody got out of the vehicle?
Yes, the guy actually he's on the road. He's
okay.
laying down. He's bleeding real bad, and there actually a car passed by and ran it over.
Ran him over?
Yes.
Okay. The semi. Where is the semi at? Is it laying on its side? Its roof?
Yeah, it's totally flipped over. Totally flipped over. I'm getting some help, man. Don't move. I'm getting help.
Okay, and is he talking or breathing?
He's moving. Is
he in the fast lane, the slow lane? Is he on the shoulder?
He's on the right lane.
Okay.
He's on the right.
Is he talking?
Yeah, he's trying to talk. He's trying to get up. Don't move, man. Don't move.
Tell him not to get up.
Don't get up. Don't move. We're getting help.
Okay. And you said, Victor, what's your last name? And are you standing right there with him?
Yes, I'm right here with him.
Okay. We've got somebody on the way. Victor, let me make sure I've got your right number here. Did the guy who hit him stop?
No, he left.
Okay, what kind of vehicle was that? Do you know?
It was a black SUV.
Is it newer model, older model? Any bumper stickers, anything?
Yeah, newer model. Newer model.
Did you happen to see who was driving, or could you tell?
I didn't see him, man.
Okay.
It's very dark. I mean, I just seen this and I pulled over. While my coworker pulled over because I was just heading to work.
And how long has it been since the last time you saw that vehicle that hit him? How many minutes would you say?
It's probably like 5 minutes tops. Right when we connected on the phone, that's when it happened. I was literally on the phone with you when the other car passed and ran him over.
Oh, jeez. Okay. All right. We've got somebody on the way for him, okay? We've got units and we've got medical on the way, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much, Victor. Bye-bye.
Well, 2 years too long. A 22-year-old Marine killed by a hit-and-run driver along the US 60 in Mesa back in 2018. But the family of Joshua Garcia will never let up, still offering a $1,000 reward and pleading for anyone with information on the driver to come forward. ABC 15's John Genovese talking with his family today near where it happened.
The first thing I think of is what I used to call him, which was Joshifer. It was like a little nickname that I gave him. He did not like it, but that made me love it that much more.
Joshua Garcia signing up for the Marines right after graduation, working 2 jobs with dreams of buying a home and starting a family, marrying his high school sweetheart just months before the morning that would claim his life.
It's just left this door open that we can't shut. It's so hard to move on from what's happened because we still don't have all the pieces.
At this interchange along Higley over the US 60, it's the second year Nora Garcia and her family putting up this memorial, spelling out his name in the fencing, red and yellow, what were her younger brother's favorite colors.
I've also posted flyers anywhere that I can.
November 2018, Garcia was driving a flatbed truck along the freeway before drifting off and crashing into an abandoned car on the shoulder. Josh was ejected, passersby stopping and running to help. Moments before, what troopers describe as a dark blue or black Chevy Tahoe or GMC Yukon came barreling through the accident scene, running over the already injured 22-year-old, then speeding off.
Now it's just been pushed out for so long, and nothing's been said, and it's just kind of beaten down that little window that I'm giving, that room that I'm trying to give these people so that they could explain themselves.
Nora says the tips and leads fizzled out, and they're no closer to knowing who's responsible. Yet again this holiday season, a Valley family left with a massive void. These photos capturing some of their happiest memories, and answers they can only hope will someday come to light.
I know that there's people out there that know what happened.
In Mesa, John Genovese, ABC 15, Arizona.
You're listening to Disinfecting Sunlight with Paul Vasquez. And now here's Paul.
So I have been sitting on this episode for far too long. Hi, audience. It's Paul here. Now, if you're watching, you'll actually see Nora's TikTok handle, at Justice4JRG. I will also put the TikTok handle on the video itself. So again, if you're watching, you'll have access to both of her TikTok accounts. Now, Nora is the sister of Joshua Robert Garcia. You'll hear his story, but just a little background. You know, since I started the show a few years ago, I wanted to tell the stories of veterans. I at least have a good chunk of the show dedicated to the veteran community, because I feel like they often suffer in silence. And I've been wanting to share the stories of veterans, but for whatever reason, it never happened until now. And Josh will be the first story of any veteran or any someone who's served on the show. Josh, I am so grateful for that, and thank you for letting me call you Josh. I feel like you'd have no problem with that. Now, audience, I've hinted at it within the last few shows about how I realized that I am a psychic medium, as crazy as that may sound to some of you, and it often sounds crazy to me. It's something I fully accepted. If you remember episode 7 with Anne-Marie Zamora, still one of the best episodes I've done this far, I kept getting weird signs during that episode, and I couldn't quite figure out what the hell. It was just too, witchy, for lack of a better word. And it was getting to me, but I couldn't figure out, the last thing I wanted to say is I'm a psychic medium. And then I did the episode with Chris Stone, another person who, has passed on, and the same thing happened to me again. It's like I kept seeing their numbers, their birth dates. It's just like billboards were hitting me upside the head. I fully accepted this since, AJ was killed, that I have this gift. And for the first time ever, I did a live reading while I was recording the podcast. So you get to see it. A little background on Nora and I don't know her. And up until this episode, we've never talked personally. I've never met her. We live in different states. How do I know certain things about this family? Especially at the very end, when Josh had to, come through and make a joke and remind her of an embarrassing incident. So, Josh, thank you for showing up. Nora, thank you for sharing Josh's story with us. And audience, after these messages, we'll be back with Nora telling the story of Josh Robert Garcia. You're listening to Disinfecting Sunlight. When Houstonians need real, unedited, and unfiltered reporting about what's going on in their city and in their neighborhoods, they don't bother with the mainstream media. They always have an agenda. Instead, Bayou City residents turn to the one and only Grizzy Castillo over at Grizzy's Hood News on Facebook. With her dedicated and interactive community, she helps give stories too often overlooked by the big networks the spotlight they rightly deserve, and sometimes even changes lives in the process. Check her out at facebook.com/Grizzy's Hood News. That's GRIZZYS Hood News, and Grizzy's Hood News exclusive. Facebook.com/Grizzy's Hood News.
And now here's Paul.
In my 37 years on this earth, I almost never imagined that a loved one of mine would go missing. But if I allowed my dark thoughts to take me there, I always took comfort in knowing that there are so many volunteer organizations, city and county services in the Houston metro area that, God forbid, that moment ever came, folks would rush in to assist in bringing my family member home. Well, this year, in April 2021, my 19-year-old nephew went missing in the city of Houston while wearing a probation ankle monitor. No one, not an officer of HPD, not his probation officer, or any well-known search and rescue organization would help locate him. Texas EquiSearch denied to assist us, not once, but twice. We even talked to the owner. Police didn't take us seriously until we took to the streets interviewing people and got several eyewitnesses that saw my nephew murdered. The only organization that believed us from day one and fought beside us in the trenches was First Priority Search and Recovery. Sean, Jason, and the rest of the gang have become family members to us. I pray your family never knows this pain, but I trust that if you do and you need help locating your loved one, that First Priority Search and Recovery will treat your family member like their life matters. Believe it when I tell you that bringing families back together is their first priority. And if you need them, you can visit their website. It's first, that's the number 1, ST, priority, SAR, as in search and recovery.org, or you can give them a call at 979-645-1177. Again, that's 979-645-1177. First Priority Search and Recovery. Thank you. So if you're on TikTok, odds are you know who Lady G is, or Lady Guinevere. If you're not on TikTok, why aren't you on TikTok? But learn who Lady G is. Go join TikTok, and then look for at Lady Guinevere 75 and follow her. When I tell you no one has done more to help us get justice for AJ and get the ball rolling than Lady Guinevere, I'm not exaggerating. I love her. She's become a good friend. But beyond that, she's just a great and fabulous human being that uses her time to help others. And you know, that's what I like to do. And I like to support those who do the same thing. So, Lady G, I love you, Mama. Disinfecting Sunlight to my audience, please go follow Lady Guinevere 75 on TikTok. Audience, I have on the line Nora. Say hi, Nora.
Hello.
Now, Nora and I met on TikTok where all good relationships are happening right now. But sadly, her story is, I don't want to say it's like ours because it's very different. But like us, she's still very much searching for justice for her brother. So tell us, just give us maybe a little background, like a Cliff Notes version of your brother, and then we'll kind of dive into the deeper stuff and get more specifics, if you don't mind.
Sure, yeah. So Joshua was my younger brother. We were only a year and some months apart. There's a lot that I could say about him, but I'll just say that he was a very methodical, caring, and very dedicated individual. He had so many plans for himself and his wife, and he was definitely a family man, so we all definitely had that space reserved, you know, for all future ideas of what life would look like. So,
how old was he?
He was 21, so forever 21.
God bless him.
Yeah.
Now, my podcast and my readings are two very different things, at least in my world. I haven't really shared that gift with my podcast audience yet, even though they're kind of figuring it out, because it's just something that's fairly new to me in terms of like diving into that kind of thing. But I almost want to do a reading on this show if that would be okay with you. I've never done it before while I'm recording, so it can be, I don't know, it could be anything.
Right.
So would that be something that would be okay with you? It's okay to say no.
I'm welcome to it, and I'm actually very happy you brought it up. Thank you.
Okay, great. Because I've been wanting to do it for you, but like I have this much time and this many requests. So I figured, why not just two birds with one stone? So let me now, for the audience, this is very new to the audience. They've never seen me do a reading on my podcast. For those that are listening, obviously this is very, very new to you. But as well, some of you know, I've always had this gift. I don't like calling myself a medium. I really don't like that term because I'm a small. But it's the only way that most people understand what I'm talking about. When I say medium, most people think, okay, he talks to the dead. And that sounds really weird, but it is what it is. But I've always had this gift. I've learned. But over the past year with AJ, like it's just gotten on steroids like crazy. And you know, like you've been in some of my lives before and have seen it. It creeps me out, audience, honestly. I get goosebumps too. But it tends to help a lot of people. So I kind of want to just see if I get anything from Josh. So audience, please go there with me. I promise I'm not going to lead you down any scary paths, and I'm most certainly not a devil worshiper. Let's just see what happens. Now this is going to be different for the audience that's just listening because you can't see me like staring off into space and looking all crazy. So just bear with me here. Was he an animal lover? Is it a cat?
He had a peculiar interest in specific animals like platypus, and he would know like random facts about.
Is it something small like a ferret or something?
Yes, oh my God, he had a whole plan. Like when I say he was a methodical person, he had this whole plan and everything to get himself a ferret because he always wanted a ferret.
Okay. So that's literally the first thing I saw, but I'm thinking like, no, it's probably a cat. Like, because cats and ferrets kind of look alike. Okay,
right,
so it's definitely a ferret. Okay, odd, but we love odd. We love odd. Now, was his goal to be like a... It's weird you say methodical, because if this is Josh that I'm feeling, it's just very... It is methodical, but it's like methodical to the 10th degree, or 10th power. Like, like he's... It's weird, because it's like he's designing like ferret habitats. Like,
yeah.
and he knows exactly... Was he going to be like did he want to open a zoo or something? Because it's like
he wanted to be an engineer. So that's something, like, if you're thinking like building and all this stuff, he was very into engineering. And I know he was getting obsessed with the animals. So it wasn't just a ferret. It was like those little sugar glider.
Oh, those are so
things.
cute.
Yeah. So I could see, it's like, is it a zoo coming through? He's like, he liked those animals. So yeah.
But I can see him like plotting it out in his head. Like, if he's going to own a ferret, he's not going to have a ferret in a little cage. He's going to have like a ferret habitat where the ferret's going to be like loose on like the second floor of the house or something. And he's going to have it like tracked where he knows exactly where the ferret is. Okay, this is weird. I've never had speaking of animals, now my animals are getting jealous over here. Sorry.
they
sorry,
feel it. They know.
Jones. Right? Okay, so what else? Did he have some kind of like congenital heart defect or something?
He was the only baby that my mom had that had any kind of struggles when he was first born. I don't know exactly what it was, but he did, I think I'm probably going to say it wrong, like RSV. He got one of those viruses when he was very little. So he had some like seizures, and he had to be in the hospital for a little bit. She said that my mom said that he was the baby that definitely scared her the most in the beginning. But, and he's the only one that I know of that has actually ever throughout life got injured, like broke a bone or anything like that. So he was a
very old soul. This was not his first time here.
I would not be surprised. Yeah.
I know how weird that may sound to some people, but again, it's just something I'm learning. And I find what happens, and this not going to provide you any comfort, and I'm sorry for that. But I find that most people that die around his age are pretty early on. A lot of them have issues in childhood. It's like they have a lot of health issues very early on. I don't know what that means from like a universe standpoint, but like Vanessa Guillen, she was like a miracle baby too. She wasn't supposed to live. And then obviously we know what happened with her. AJ had some health issues early on in life, just a lot of just weird coincidences that way. I don't know what God is trying to tell us, if he's trying to tell us anything or was just overreaching, but
I used to have this recurring nightmare when I was growing up of us playing in front of my grandma's house, and it's a house in California, so it's got one of those slanted driveways.
Oh, yes.
And in the dream, something goes down the driveway, and he goes to run down and get it. And when he gets to the street, he gets hit by a car, and it's not just like the car leaves, like the car stopped, and it would be on top of him. And I'm freaking out in my dream. It's one of those things you can't scream, can't run, But it was a nightmare that I would have quite often when I was younger. And when this happened, it was just what like these little things throughout life. I wonder the same thing too, like if maybe he was never meant to be here for so long, but we were definitely blessed with the time that we did get to have him.
You got me goosebumping already over here, because I was just about to say, right before you said that, I'm like, I'm picking up your gift too. I'm not alone here with my gift. You have very indigenous ancestors. You've got a lot of like, I don't want to say curanderas or curanderos, but like there's just a lot of like spirit healers in your family, like generations ago.
As I get older, yeah.
Do you have native ancestors or native blood?
I believe so. So as I get older, I'm learning a lot more. I grew up. This is our family.
Aww, mira.
But my dad, once we
you look
moved
like
here,
the one in the red dress looks like my sister. Is that you?
that's me, and that's my sister.
Okay, yeah, she looks like my sister Connie.
My dad is definitely he has indigenous blood in him, but we didn't really have him throughout most of our lives. So we didn't grow up with that part of our heritage, and it's very detached until I got older. And now that I'm getting older and I'm learning more, it's exactly as you say. I'm coming to find that the bloodline, how it runs deep. And
I can feel it.
Yeah.
And even though, just know I'm a crybaby girl. You see me on TikTok crying all the time, so don't be alarmed if I start breaking down. And feel free to break down. I'm not going to stop you from crying.
Safe space.
Josh had a very strong purpose here that we may not see for some time. Dobby, why are you whining? I'm sorry. Sorry, audience. My dog is whining. But Josh was a healer. He was a healer in so many ways, and I don't know if everyone realized that.
A lot of his friends would say that. Yeah.
He had a friend. He had a friend that came from a house of a lot of domestic violence. And boy, yeah, this is why I don't do readings on my podcast, because I'm start crying. But Josh was like a rock for this person. In his very limited years, Josh was very wise for his age, because again, this is not his first rodeo. Like, he's been here before. So Josh would just sit with this person's pain in a way that nobody else could comfort this person. Does this resonate with you?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. But that was Josh's mission in this lifetime. And I know that doesn't provide y'all a lot of comfort, because his life was this big. But he healed so many people along the way. That's just one example. There are several more where that come from.
I when you're talking about that, I'm thinking of several friends in particular, that this could be about. But I'm wondering, because of the way that you pulled that one in, he did have a friend he was very close to, who I feel it was about 6 to 8 months after my brother's accident, he took his own life.
Oh, God.
And I know that things in his life had been mounting, and when Josh passed, it had affected him. And so many others, because he was that rock for a lot of people, a lot in silence. A lot of people had no idea that he was even like helping, so-and-so. But yeah, that's who came to me in my mind when you were born.
I believe you, and because I know you're gifted like me, I'm going to say that probably is that person. Give me 1 second. Let me get Dobby. Dobby, come. He has to be on the show. Come on. Come on, drama queen. Come on. Okay. Dobby has to be on the show. Let me take your little jingle jangles off here.
Jingle jangles. Yeah.
She's just jingling and jangling here. There we go. Okay, baby. Say hi. Hi, audience. For those that are watching. That's Dobby. Okay, so Mama, you're a spirit healer too. And even there even feels to be like there's some conflict in you. Like it almost feels like, even though like Josh's death obviously broke your heart and crushed you, there are times when you're like, shouldn't I be more sad? I feel like there's this like, wait a minute, shouldn't I be more sad? Shouldn't my brother's gone? I should be like crying. But then there's this other part of you that's just like very, very strong, because you're the same kind of healer. And Josh was just as much your rock as you were his. Just like he provided that role for a lot of his friends, he provided that role for a lot of his family too, you included. But you feel him all the time. You really do. And that's what gives you, kind of like me with AJ. I feel AJ so much that I'm a lot more comforted than I am brokenhearted most of the time. And the same I feel is true for you and Josh.
Yeah. I talk about my mom, or talk with my mom about this all the time, because it's like so weird how I can feel him so near, which is a comfort.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we are obviously still separated. You know, there's a reason we exist apart, and that still hurts. You know, and at times just talking about how the comfort of feeling him near leaves me almost with that excitement, you know, that happiness. And it's at times I almost forget that he's not, you know.
I get that. Was he a goofy dancer?
Yes. Yes. He was the only dancer out of us.
Okay.
That's exactly, yeah.
For audience that can't see me, that's just hearing me, I just kind of like waved my arms in the air in kind of a goofy manner. So just FYI. I forget, the show used to be audio only, but now I do video. So, but most people still listen on their, podcast. So just FYI, audience, you might want to just go watch. Now, what else? What else? There's an older man with him. Is there a grandfather that passed?
Not to one that we knew.
There may be one that you didn't.
Or of course, I haven't had contact with my dad. So for all I know, not to throw that out there, but I mean, who knows?
You don't know if your dad is alive.
Right.
Because I'm wondering the same thing. Because there is a man with him. I don't know for sure that it's daddy, but
right.
It feels like a paternal figure. Trying to see if I can pick up anything else. I'm trying to keep a lot of the dead air away for the audience who's listening. But it definitely feels like a paternal energy. I don't know how much you know about Dad, but was Dad like into jewelry? Was he? Because I'm seeing like gold, like chains.
He was not, but I just recalled that. So since we didn't have our father in our life, there were a lot of men that were important figures to my brother, particularly through sports, his coaches and whatnot. And I have no idea if this is who, but it popped into my mind. I remember just a year or two before my brother's accident, there was news that one of his coaches had passed. It was some crazy, unfortunate incident at a bar. He hit his head and he ended up passing. But he was one of those coaches that definitely guided my brother a lot through football and track and all that.
I think it is him. I think you're right. And maybe because I'm feeling chains and I'm thinking gold chains, but I'm thinking it could be like the whistle. If he's a coach, okay, I think it is him. And the reason I think that is because, again, you're just as gifted as I am. And I feel like I'm picking up your energy too. And the same is true vice versa. So if I'm feeling someone and you immediately think coach, then I'm going to go with you because I think you're reading the same thing and we're just kind of channeling off of each other, which is really cool. I love when that happens.
Yes.
Now, is Mom a bad cook?
Is Mom a bad cook? Oh, yeah. That's hilarious. Oh my God. So she can cook, but it's very limited,
But there's one dish that Josh really liked. What was it?
Ooh. I'll have to ask my mom.
And I feel like it was not a dish that she was necessarily proud of, but it was just like something that was very comforting for him. Because he's telling me Mom couldn't cook, but there was one thing that he really liked, and it almost feels like he wants y'all to have and I feel like you've done this before, but maybe just a little more. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, yes, I'm just like, okay, yeah, I have to confirm with my mom.
Because he wants y'all to have a dinner in remembrance of him, but make whatever it is that he liked, and then just laugh about how bad of a cook Mom is.
Yes, it made her childhood,
Yeah, hey, my mom was not a good cook either. She'll be the first to tell you, but I loved her food.
Oh yeah, the comfort, the nostalgia, that just comes with
the love,
Mm-hmm.
What else? Okay, Josh, what else we got? What else have we got? Did wife, now some of this I read on your TikTok, but I know his wife got her bachelor's. Did she walk?
She did.
Okay.
That was like a very big thing.
Did she trip?
I don't think so. I did try to whistle. That was embarrassing.
Okay, because there was a moment of embarrassment. I thought it was her, but maybe it was you. Because Josh was definitely there.
Oh, she'll love to hear that.
She felt him, like on her, like she felt someone touch her shoulder or something like around here. And it almost feels like it creeped her out because I can feel like the hairs on the back of her neck like rising. Because I don't feel like, it doesn't feel like she's kind of the woo-woo spiritual one.
Right.
Okay. So I feel like she'd be like, no. But no, that was
right.
Josh. That was Josh touching her and just kind of guiding her up. What else? She wants to continue school.
Yeah.
Josh wants her to.
Oh.
What is it that she's trying to become? Is it a teacher?
I think it's been changing a little bit the last few months. Because she did take a break, and that was something I think was kind of like beyond the degree that she got. You know, she wanted to keep going, but it's as she's told me, you know, as time goes on, it almost gets thicker, the grief for her.
Yeah.
You know, and so
I feel like Josh is telling her. Then we got both of them. Bridget Jones is here now too. Sorry.
Hello.
Hi, Bridget Jones.
Okay.
And there's those territorial one. They're going to start fighting. Okay. My kids. Okay. So, I'm sorry. Josh wants her to continue. Oh, hey, you see the blue light behind me?
Yes.
There's no light behind me.
Oh, really? Oh.
That usually happens when I'm talking about AJ, because there's no light back there. There's literally no light back there. I promise you, I'm not making that up. There's no light on back there.
Right, I see it.
So, it happens usually when I'm talking about AJ. I'm going to say it's Josh. And I'm going to start crying. Stop crying, Paul. Josh wants her to continue, and he wants her to know that the grief is heavy, and it's going to be heavy for a while. But if she, and I know this is easier said than done, trust me, I get it. But if she allows the grief to keep her from living her life, it's just going to be, the grief is going to keep building, and she's not going to be able to progress in her life. If she doesn't cut it off soon, it's just going to, because she's come this far already.
Right.
And she doesn't really have that much further to go.
Yeah.
But, I'm going to start crying. Hold the tears, Paul, hold the tears. Josh healed her in so many ways. She didn't even believe she was capable of getting a college degree. That wasn't a belief in her head. Like, she's not the kind of person that was going to get a college degree. But Josh helped her believe that.
He definitely helped her to like open her eyes to just how much potential, you know. She was really into tennis, and that's how they kind of met, and they were both, you know, little sports addicts. And he really did help to open up that shell.
Well, here's his current fear with that, is that the shell is coming back on. And she's regressing. And that's understandable. This isn't a judgment on her. It's understandable. But if there's something he could tell her, it's just to don't stop. I'm still there. I'm not there the way you want me to be or need me to be, but I'm there.
Right.
And she needs to turn down the TV. She plays the TV really loud.
I'll tell her. I bet. Oh, she's gonna laugh.
She plays the TV really, really loudly. Turn the TV down. I don't know. That's just some random thought that came in my head. Dobby, no French kisses. Let's see here. Okay, what else? Audience, for those that are listening, I know this is very different than typical of the podcast that I do, but I kind of just felt like I needed to do it. So thank you for listening, and thank you for sticking around with us. Now, let's take a little turn. It's going to get dark and sadder for just a moment, but I want to, well, before we go too dark and too sad, tell me a little more about why Josh became a Marine, what was his motivation there, what he got out of it, and what was his future plans, if he had future plans in the Marines.
Right. Yeah, no, so, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Joshua became a Marine right out of high school. Our family is pretty enmeshed with military and police. My grandpa was Navy and he was a police officer. My uncle was a police officer. My cousin's a police officer. One was in the Navy, one was in the Air Force. So, we got a lot of people serving.
Nice. And thank you for that.
Thank you. And Josh definitely took from that. He took from all the work that they did to inspire him and what he wanted to do. His deepest desire was to help people. I remember maybe a year before the accident, he was a Marine reservist. So he wasn't active duty. He was able to stay here in Arizona where we were living and everything. But he was trying to go active. He was trying to go to the aid support that was needed over on the East Coast when the hurricane was coming, and it just kept getting denied. And he ended up having issues with like the training program, like having to go every month to drill. There were issues there with them not marking him present. And so they were kind of giving him a bit of a hard time, like saying he wasn't there when he was. And so he was trying to wean a little bit away from the Marines and go to the police force. So that's when he started to do the test and all that stuff to get into the academy. And he had just passed the test. So he was going to start training, I don't know, maybe a couple months out or weeks, however Phoenix does it.
Yeah.
But that was his plan, to at least stay in the avenue of what our family's been doing. He wanted to be the change. We definitely had a different idea growing up. I will say that. But as I got older, my eyes open and I'm educating myself more and realizing, it's dangerous either way where you go, especially if you're going to try to be the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
girl.
Yeah.
And for the audience,
yes.
I just want to say, I know sometimes people can tend to paint me a certain kind of way based on what I'm going through with AJ. But as I've said on the podcast, and as I'll continue to say, I will never be the person that says ACAB. That is not me. I do not believe that all cops are bad. I love good cops. I've met so many good cops throughout my life. I would not be the fighter that I am. I would not be the compassionate person that I am if not for the good cops that either my mom was dating or
Right.
my mom loved the man in uniform, girl. Or the cops that would come around on like Christmas or, bring us food on Thanksgiving because we were that poor that it took a lot of, organizations in the area to come and just help us. So I just wanted to say that I love good cops. HPD, that doesn't include y'all. Sorry. Next.
Oh, man. I love it when you do your job,
Baby. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But I say that because I have a lot of respect for particularly like the generational cops, like when the families have like grandpa's a cop and then dad's a cop and then son is a cop. I think that's beautiful and I think that's amazing. And I come from a similar military background, even though at the time I couldn't join the military because I was too big and gay. But that's a whole other story. So that time has come and gone. But anyways, back to Josh. So he wanted to be a cop and he was working on that. And then what happened?
He also, then this was before COVID, because like now things are just so financially difficult. But even before then, even as a Marine, he was working multiple jobs. He had to. the finances, of trying to get their lives started, getting a house, and kind of detaching, because they were both still here at home and very much wanting to start their own lives together. As expected, they just got married, So he was working overtime to save up for the house. He was also helping to put Bianca through school. And she worked part-time, but he wanted her to mainly focus on school. And he just kind of overworked himself. He, I believe, was working about 10 hours that night when he had his accident.
Boy, so tell us about that. How'd you hear about it?
So I was at my son's father's house, and I remember that day being very weird. It was very quiet. The house was just unsettlingly quiet, if I could make any note of that morning before I knew anything. And one thing that does stick out before I got the call that just started all the panic and unraveling, I was at my son's father's house, and I was sitting in his bedroom facing the door, and my son couldn't speak yet. He was only a year and some months old. And I remember him pointing at the door, and he was trying to say something. I couldn't quite figure it out. It wasn't Josh, but it was almost like brother. And didn't think anything of it then. But it would be about 10 minutes later that I get a call from my mom. She's panicking, asking where I am. And I'm like, I'm at, Benji's dad's house. Like, what's going on? She's like, you need to come back now, right now. And so we hop in the car. I make my son's father drive because I'm starting to panic. And she tells me to go to my sister's husband's house, which is literally like they're the kids next door. He's 8 houses down. So we pulled up to the house, and I walk up, and my mom and my sister are just in the doorway, pale faced. And my mom grabs me and she says, Josh is dead. And I was like, what? What do you mean? We just saw him. My mom and I had seen him the night before he left the house to go clock in and start that last shift. And it's just, I have object permanence issues, and so I at that moment, I didn't know what had happened to him, but I was like, where is he? Like, can we go to him? And is he at the hospital? Like, what happened? And she's like, no, he got into an accident and he was laying in the road and somebody ran him over. And that was basically it. I didn't know what time. I had no idea how long he was in the road. I didn't know about the Good Samaritans yet. So all I could think was that he was in the dark, because it was about 4 a.m. when that happened. And it was cold. It was November, and that he was alone. And I remember I literally, like in the movies, like everything, the sound went out. I wasn't moving. Like my sister and my mom, came in to hug me while they're crying. And I was just standing there, and my sister had to tell me to breathe. And I just sucked in all this air and like finally started crying. Like, I just wanted to see him. Like, can we at least go to the hospital? Can at least, what can we do? And they're like, no, we can't. He's already gone. He's sealed off, and somebody else has already gone to identify for us, so we don't have to. And I just remember coming back. We walked back to the house, because it's just a few houses down that we were at, and sitting in the backyard and looking around, and it's just sunny, I'm thinking, like, how is it so bright right now? How is everything still turning? Like, where is he? Where is he? Is he right next to me? Is he here? Where, like, can I call him up? The first person I want to talk to about this is obviously the person you can't get a hold of. Mm. And so the next few days were just a haze, starting to get pieces bit by bit, more details about how he wasn't alone. So it was like, okay, he wasn't alone. That's my biggest fear. But then learning that like people had stopped to help him. It was like this tug of war jerk back and forth, even though I knew he already passed, hearing like people stopped in time. They were getting down to help him. And then somebody ran him over and then they took off. And he didn't pass until he was at the hospital. It wasn't instant like I was thinking and in a way hoping. And it just, the more I learned, the angrier I got with these people. I was hoping that the driver, if they were under the influence or something like that, if they had a guilt conscience, might come forward a few days later. If they're like sober, get that out of the way, but at least come forward and apologize or tell us what happened, because we don't understand how they didn't see. It's a very wide, straight highway. Josh was in the very far, far right, and there was already a truck and other people stopped. So how did they miss it all? And I believe it was Bianca who mustered up the courage to be the first one of family to go to the news and do an interview and plea, which are the last few videos that I posted on our TikTok page. But I was out of it. I don't remember that period at all. I was definitely detached, and it wasn't until a couple months later that I really started to kind of come back. The holidays. That all just felt like a cruel joke.
So this was November, so this was like right before Thanksgiving?
Yeah. Thanksgiving and Christmas, which our family, we kind of live apart. So the only time we would ever come together and it would feel, like family would be Thanksgiving and Christmas. And that year, I just remember I was that person crying and just like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we doing this? Like, obviously Josh isn't here. It doesn't feel right. And God bless my family. They're just trying to, keep us together during these very difficult times. And I never outwardly expressed that, but I was definitely feeling just all sorts of ways, grief and the holidays. So once the holidays passed, I was kind of able to ground myself a little better. And I just kept thinking about the details and what must have been going through my brother's mind in his last minutes. And I know I shouldn't do that, but I can't help it.
I give you some comfort?
Please.
I think you're going to laugh. This may not be at all what you're wanting to hear, but he was hungry. He was really hungry.
Okay, so when we went to go speak with the Good Samaritans for the very first time, one of the things that really stuck out to them that just really hurt them that morning was when they had gone to my brother and tried to assess and stay with him and everything. And the ambulance came and took him. They were able to kind of like actually process the area around them and everything. And they saw that he had a lunchbox and another lunchbox with like notes, because he would bring lunch to his wife. And they were like, oh, he had a family, like he hadn't even eaten yet. Like it was all fresh in there, no.
Aww.
So for you to say he was hungry, I bet he was.
Yeah, he wasn't. I don't get the sense that he was thinking. I don't get the sense that he felt like this was the end. I don't think that computed in his head.
No, yeah. I want to say a year and a half after everything, a very, very kind follower on our Instagram page offered us to like a psychic reading with I believe her name is Mary Ochino, and she's based in Florida. But we were able to do a reading with her, and yeah, some of the things that she brought up about how, because I didn't want to share any information, I didn't want to, lead or give anything away. But she was mentioning how whoever had come forward for her at the time was making her feel like she was spinning and like she couldn't figure out which way was up or which way was down. And I could totally see how in my brother's accident he would have felt that way, because his truck completely flipped and it was on its back when it was all totaled and everything. So I can see how he would have been very just disoriented and like, what the hell just happened,
Yeah.
I'm actually very surprised and very proud of him, because he was fighting for his life. He was still moving and alert after he had already gone through that rollover. Polo and Victor saw him trying to sit up in the road, and even
what
after
was their names?
Polo and Victor.
Ooh, name. Okay, sorry. Those names just mean something to me. No coincidences.
Wow. Well, Leo, his full name Leopoldo, or Polo and Victor. They were able to see him moving before everything happened, and trigger warning, I guess, for anybody listening for these details. But even after he was ran over, he was still trying to sit up, and he was still trying to talk and move. And in the 911 call, Victor had to tell him repeatedly, like, don't move, don't get up. Like, we're getting help. Just wait, And I believe it was maybe like 10 minutes or so after they got to the hospital that my brother passed.
God.
And they had ran over his midsection, which took most of the damage. And I don't believe they were able to like stop bleeding and stuff like that. And so that's ultimately what killed him.
He had a very high pain tolerance.
He did, yeah.
Because I don't get the sense that he felt much. I think his brain was so like not there. It was because I also get the sense that he was someone that kind of lived in the future a lot. He was never present like right now. He was like, okay, I got to pay this bill tomorrow. I got to go to this appointment. I got to
Pretty much
so I feel like as he's laying there in his head, at least, he's like, okay, I'm about to go home, and I'm going to get off soon, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to do that. And then I don't even feel like he scheduled in sleep. Like, it wasn't something he enjoyed doing because it was this time away from stuff he could be doing.
Right.
So I don't, if I can put myself in his spirit there, I'm not feeling a lot of pain. I'm feeling a lot of like, okay, this is slowing me down. Can we hurry the hell up and move on? I don't get the sense that he was processing this at all for the reality. Right. And I think at least in that moment, that was probably a blessing because he was so in his head, he wasn't so in the pain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, does his wife have a child? There's a little boy. I'm seeing a little boy.
Oh, wow. So, no, they do not have a child, but two things. Right before he passed, like 2 days before the accident, him and I were standing in the hallway of our kitchen, and it was a very random conversation. Don't remember how it started, but I do remember him telling me that if he ever had a son, he'd want to name him Benito so that he can nickname him Benny, you know. And after the accident, I remember his wife was experiencing a lot of pain, like maybe something was going on down there. I don't know if we ever completely figured out, but we were hoping at that time, that maybe she was pregnant. And so we were trying very hard to, just keep her relaxed, but it wasn't the case. I think it was just the overall stress of losing him and all those little steps and things that come after somebody dies that we don't think about, or they definitely were not prepared for this early on.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know what it means by the little boy. He's showing me a little boy, but I'm not getting the sense that the little boy's dead. But maybe he still wants her to have a son, even if it's not necessarily, his son per se. But yeah, it definitely feels.
That's something I always think about for Bianca, and I would feel from Josh, that is, if I'm able to speak on this in any way, right? But I just feel that Josh would definitely want her to not be alone, and to feel love again. And so I don't know if that's in any way, entangled with what you bring up, but
I think it is. And I think, I don't, I'm still learning into the past life thing and the future life thing and trying to figure out what all that means.
Right.
I don't think this was going to be Josh's last life. So yeah. I think you're gonna feel him very strongly connected to someone else in the not so near future, or in the not so near future. Don't be alarmed if you're like, wow, he acts a lot like Josh, or even she acts a lot like Josh. It may not be a male. But don't be alarmed, because I feel like Josh is, and I don't want to give any false hope or anything like that either. But his spirit is very strong, and his spirit is not done. So, just don't get all weirded out. It's wow, he reminds me a lot of Josh, because I see that happening in the future. And just go there with it, embrace it, and enjoy it for what it is. He may come back as a little boy. It may not be Bianca's little boy, but who knows? Who can really tell? You might have another little boy. Wait, do you have a little boy?
I was actually going to say I do have a little boy, and these last few years, he's grown up. He's aging. I'm seeing his little face come in, and he reminds me so much of the baby pictures that I see of my brother.
Josh is never really going to be gone. Now, what am I seeing now? Okay, how much time we have? Okay, so we're going to be wrapping up. Well, I've just got about 15 minutes. So we've talked about, so in terms of the case, in terms of getting justice for Josh, what does justice for Josh mean to you?
I mean, over time, it's just made me realize a lot of the questioning of moral belief when it comes to this situation. I've heard a lot of people playing devil's advocate for the hit and run driver. And I guess my overall message that I want to come from Justice for Josh is, and it's one I've always struggled to tell, because I know it's kind of along some beliefs that people probably don't hold or believe. But everything in this life, as proven with my brother, is temporary. The physical, the material things of this earth, this life, it's all temporary. But I do believe that the soul is eternal. I do believe that Josh continued on. I do believe everybody continues on. And I do believe that this experience we are having is very real and very important, including how we treat others, how we treat ourselves. And for Justice for Josh, it's just acknowledging the importance of life. I don't believe that, what happened that morning was at all planned. I don't think those people had any intention or hint that that was going to happen that morning, but yet everybody's paths crossed. And so I think we should honor that. If we're here for a reason, this experience, why did things happen the way they did? Who are these people? What life are they living? What have they learned since then? Those are the things that come to mind every time I think about justice for Josh.
Girl, this is not your first life. How old are you?
Yeah, I feel like an old soul, but I am.
Wow. That was a very, very layered and spiritual answer. Yeah, honey, the more you do your family tree, you're going to find some, like, indigenous spirit healers, like curanderos and curanderas, and, like, dancing around the fire and stuff, because you're, like, very, very, way, way wise beyond your years. Wow, that was a great answer. How long has it been? When was the accident in terms of dates?
Yes, this accident was November 16th of 2018. So that was 3 years ago, going on 4 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Interestingly, we've had some action, fresh stuff happening in the case, or I believe so, because we've been doing this every year. Every year on the anniversary, I do the same thing. I memorialize him. But this past year in 2021, our memorials were messed with. And a couple times, several times. And I've checked every avenue to know that it's not the city, it's not litter crew, it's not Banner, which was the property where his marker's on. I have a very deep feeling that whoever was doing this is somehow involved, or they know the people that are involved, and it's getting under their skin. I'm not going away like they thought I was after a year or two. I'm still here going on 4 years. Thank you.
Yes, girl.
And it's got to weigh heavy on them. You know, I don't think the complete heartlessness is as common as we think. I'm pretty sure these people have a conscience, and it's got to be weighing heavy on them. There's something that they do care deeply about, whether it's their image or maintaining the life that they were living. So at some point, there's got to be a moment, a click, something to make them humanize my brother and realize exactly what they did. The consequences that come in this life, they will come and they go. That will pass. But if you hold on to this is what I think to them. Like, if they hold on to this to the grave, not that it's my business to care about them, but what does that do for them? What does that do for their soul? What does that... Yeah.
Girl. Sorry. That was just like an Oprah aha kind of. Because you said, you know, not that it's your business to care, but it is, because you're a good person. And now most good people are not going to say I'm a good person, because that's not. But I can feel your spirit. It is your business to care, because I think we know that we're all connected. You can't hurt someone else without equally hurting yourself. That's just not possible. Like it. And I know that the folks that, you know, I can actually say the K word here, that killed my nephew. I know the folks that killed my nephew are hurting themselves. They have to be, unless they're total sociopaths, which I don't think is possible. But they have to be hurting because they're human beings. Like, we can't. It's the Newton's third law of motion, you know. So for you to say that, you know, because you care, because you're a human being, and you're a human being that is a good person, that actually has a warm spirit in her. And even though your heart is breaking for your brother, you still actually give a shit about the people that killed him. Forgive my language, but girl, I'm from Texas. We cuss and pray. So that just, I'm holding back tears. I'm probably going to cry my eyes out as soon as we're done here. But I'm just trying to keep it together. But that was a beautiful answer. Now, what do you want? Now, okay, Bridget Jones, you got to get down. Sorry. Assuming that justice will be had. I'm just going to put it out there like that. Justice for Josh will be had at some point. Folks will be held accountable. Now, after we move on from that phase, what do you want Josh's legacy to be?
Everything that I think about Josh, I guess, which would be being there for others, a bittersweet knowing that, we need to really appreciate the time that we have, take more pictures, take more videos. The year before my brother passed, him and I were kind of splitting ways. We weren't as close as we were. He was getting married. I was a new mom. We were very busy with our lives. And I hate to say it, but it was very easy at the time to quarrel with my brother. And it's just not worth it. It's not, although that's much easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
Living through it's a whole other thing. But when I look back, I just would like to remind people, we're not here forever. Go through your feelings and emotions and be true to yourself. But, love the people around you, because we're not here forever. At least not in the form that we're going to recognize for forever.
Did you have like an embarrassing experience at a water park or swimming or something?
Oh my God.
Tell me about it, because he's showing it to me. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out what it is.
No, yeah. Okay, so I realized when I go to my brother's memorial, past a water park that we went to when I first learned how to drive. Okay. And it was like a big thing, because I was like, I'm going to drive us to the water park. We're adults, And so I was driving like a Nana in the far right, like barely going the speed limit for the highway. And I remember when we got there, I was very nervous. I was a lot heavier at the time. And water parks were kind of not my friend.
Yeah. Girl, I hear you.
And we were at the top of this one water slide that needed like an inner tube thing. And we got one that was a 2-seater. And I'm looking at Josh and I'm like, yeah, I'm going in the back. You're going to go in the front. Okay. And he was like, that's fine. So I was waiting for him to get in first, because I know how being big works with the air tube. But he was like, no, go ahead. And I was like, okay. And so I go to sit in it first. And when I sat in it, the tube just went straight out, and I like laid down in water. Like,
oh my God.
And my brother and the attendant there are just standing like, ooh. And I'm there like, my brother gifts me up, and I grab the tube and I'm like, let's go. We go down, and then after that I was like, I think I'm good. I'll sit out.
Well, he wanted to end the show on that note. Aww.
Oh, thank you, Josh.
to embarrass you at the end of the show.
Blessed is he, always being my brother.
Right? Oh, okay, Josh. Okay, well, what else? If anyone has information regarding the case, or they know something, is there a number they can call? Is there a TikTok, an email, something? Obviously, I'm going to put your TikTok handle on the screen when this drops, but any other information you want to put out there that I can post?
Everything can be found in our link tree. I include a link for people to post tips online if they don't want to like call it in, because I know how that is.
Sure.
And there's also phone numbers for like Silent Witness and the police department that are available there too, that people could call to leave a tip if they want. Silent Witness is working with us, so if somebody has information and they don't want to leave any footprint, they can go through them. And if it does lead to an arrest, they can get $1,000. And I also have a link that explains how that works and everything. So,
well, that's something I've never heard of, and something I'm going to look into.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, AJ, because the HPD hasn't deemed him a victim of any kind of crime, we're not eligible for any Crime Stoppers money or anything like that. So that's what we're dealing with. But I've never heard of Silent Witness, so I'm going to look them up and see if maybe they would be willing to help.
Absolutely, yeah.
But thank you for this. This was a treat, and I'm grateful that we did the reading/podcast at the same time, because that was really cool how he ended there on the embarrassing moment. But I needed that. That made me laugh, because I'll tell you after we're done here, but I have a very similar experience when I was big and on an inner tube. Now I'm okay, but back then, girl, it was like gravity. I was like a damn asteroid, just like.
Not my friend.
Well, honey, I love you so much. Thank you for doing this. And this will be out. I'm going to obviously add a little, little things here and there to it to kind of jazz it up. But should be out within a couple weeks, but I'll let you know for sure the date. Thank you so much. I love you. Thank you for allowing me to do this. This was a real privilege. Stay safe. And if you need anything, you've got my number now, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
Bye,
Paul.
honey.
We love you too.
You're very
Bye.
welcome. Justice for Josh.
Justice for little AJ.
Oh, thanks. Bye. So I have to thank Nora again for sharing that, sharing Josh's story with our audience. Thank you for that. Thank you, Josh, again for coming through and making us laugh. Please follow her at Justice4JRG. That's J as in Joshua, R as in Robert, G as in Garcia. On TikTok, again, that's at Justice4JRG. Also at Justice4JRD.2. At Justice4JRG.2 on TikTok. Remember to support your veterans in any way that you can. And I don't necessarily just mean putting a bumper sticker on your car that says we support the troops, but actually look for ways that you can support veterans in your community, because they do give a lot and they typically don't ask for much. And until next time, y'all, stay in the light.
Hey, just want to say justice for Joshua. Hope and pray that y'all find the person that did this and y'all get the justice to Johnny. Sorry about your loss.
Justice for Josh.
Justice for Josh.